Today we're back with my pomegranate clump that I started from seed in 2017. Following on from the last video, you can see it was growing well and looking pretty full. There are 7 trees in this clump, so it looks nice and bushy. I trimmed it back hard and this is what was left. You can sort of see what I'm aiming for, but it's a good few years away from it. By August it had grown back very strongly. This tree lives outside now, so it's great to see such strong growth in my climate. Here is a close-up of the trunks. And here's a shot from above. It's really filled in nicely. It was just left alone for the rest of the year, and in January you can see it had lost all of its leaves. I wish I'd filmed it in autumn. I can't remember what colour the leaves went. Anyway, without the leaves you can see the structure is actually okay. It's doing really well for such a young tree, well, group of trees. So as to most of my trees, I give them a good hard prune in the winter. I was pretty aggressive, removing most of the length, then removing anything that was growing inwards or any other sort of weird angle. I also tried to keep the branches to 2 at any one point. In a few places there was a couple growing from the same spot, so the extras had to go. By the end of this pruning it almost looked like I'd taken it back to where it was this time last year. But there's more branches and it's a little thicker, so it may seem like small progress, but for this tree it's been a good year. In April the buds started to show, and they were everywhere. They're kind of hard to see, but a few days later they are much more noticeable. By mid-April the little red buds are really swelling. There were so many I actually had to go in and remove some. Some places had 3 or 4 in one spot, or they were growing inwards. I would never want branches in these places, so I just removed the buds. As the buds had swollen so much, it was time to repot. If you remember from the last video, I had planted the trees through the top of a bottle of Coke. So I started by scraping away the soil around this. This repot is a little different than usual. I'm not going to trim any roots, I'm just loosening them up and I'm going to put them in this slightly larger pot. I really want these trees to grow as big as possible, and I really don't care about what happens to the roots. You'll probably notice I'm planting it a bit high. My plan is to build a second set of roots above the pot. It'll make more sense in a minute. Basically I need the trees to grow and thicken. They are tied in the bottle top, but there's still a little room. My hope is this year they will outgrow the bottle top. This should force the trees to fuse, which is good, but it should also cause the outside of the trunks to really push into the bottle, hopefully to the point it digs in, almost like a tourniquet. Hopefully the roots will then start to form here. I kind of want it to air layer itself. Well, I guess it's more of a ground layer, but hopefully you get the idea. Obviously if I want roots to come out where the top of the bottle is, it needs to be covered with soil. So I'm building this wee second pot of sort with some mesh. Could have just buried the whole thing, but I thought I'd try this. Just a bit of an experiment really. If you have any thoughts on this, let me know below. Probably a waste of time, but it looks kind of cool. It also looks like something you might see in Japan. And for comparison, the smaller pot is what it had been growing in, so the new pot is a good size bigger. Here is a close-up, so you can see a bit better what's going on. I'm still knocking them onto buds off here, there's just so many. So hopefully this year it grows strongly in the larger pot. I think we'll get fusion, but hopefully we get some ground layered roots as well. Although it was covered in buds, it hasn't leafed out in May, but I'm not too worried. It's a bit cooler here than its natural habitat, so it takes a bit longer for it to fully wake up. Also look at this daddy long legs. Sorry pal, you need to go. In June it was looking fine, the leaves were finally out and it was doing well. And by July it's looking nice and bushy. I'm very happy with it so far. Thanks for watching, see you next time.